Now we are going to see a number of options that we can use with draggable interaction. So to illustrate this, I have already created a web page Draggable Restrict, because in this section we are going to see different options that we can use to restrict the movability or to restrict the draggability. So I have named the file as Draggable Restrict and I have added references to the required files. So first let me create a div element with ID main, and I am going to create a number of div elements within this main div element. So div, let me have a class name for all those div elements and I am adding it as sub. So let me copy this and create two more. So here we have a main div element and there are three sub div elements again. So let me style this main and sub div elements. Okay. So let me add the style tag to add the CSS style. To access the main div element, I can use hash. So hash main. Let me set the width to be 500 px. Height also 500 px. Then let me make it centered using margin 0 px auto, and let me also set a border to identify it clearly. Let the border be 2px solid black. Now this is the main div element, and let me style the sub div elements using dot sub, because we have added the class name for these three div elements. And let me set its width to be 100 px. Okay, height to be 100 px, then border 1 px solid black, and let me also set some padding to have some space in between. So let it be 5 px, and let us check how it appears now. Refresh. See, they are appearing like this, one below the other, but I want it like all the three in the same row. So how we can do that? I just need to specify float left. Okay, let us check it now. Refresh. See, they are seen like this. Okay, let me add some margin of 5 px. Okay, refresh. Okay, now it is appearing like this. Let me also add some background color for all these three div elements. Okay, so if we add here, the same color will be displayed for all the three. So what I am going to do is I am going to add it here. Style background, let the first one be red. Let me copy this, paste, okay, and change this to green and this to blue. Now how will it appear? It is seen like this, red, green and blue, and these three are within this main div element. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to restrict the movement of these three elements. So I will show you how we can do that. Let me add the script section and $document.ready event. So $document.ready. This is to check whether our document is ready. So function bracket curly braces, and within this we need to write the function. Okay, so first let us try to make this main div element draggable. So how we can do that? We need to write $hash main, that is selecting the main element, then write draggable, right? We have seen it in the previous lecture, and let us see what happens. Refresh. Let me move this. See, the main div is moved along with the child elements, right? These three are the child elements of this main parent element, and when we move the parent element, all the child elements are also moved. Now suppose I write, instead of hash main, I write dot sub. What happens now? These three individual div elements will become movable, right? So let us see that. Refresh. See, it is moved. This is also draggable. This is also draggable. So when we write dot sub, all the individual three div elements become draggable or movable like this. Now suppose I want this one to be movable only in the horizontal direction. That is, I want to restrict the movement of this red div element only in the horizontal direction. For this purpose, we can use an option named axis. So let me add some ID for all these sub-elements. Sub1, let me copy this and change this to 2, sub2, and this to sub3. Okay, and I want this sub1 to move in only horizontal direction. So what I can do is, I can access it using its ID, that is hash sub1 draggable, and as we have discussed before, when we use options, it should be put within curly braces. So curly braces, the name of the option is axis, and if we want to move it only in the horizontal direction, its value should be set to x, which means it will be moved in horizontal direction only. So let us check that, refresh, see, I am not able to move it in this direction. It is movable only in the x direction, that is horizontally only. So this way we can restrict the direction of movement using the axis option. There is one more value we can set, that is y. Let me copy this and make the second div, that is second child div, to move only in the vertical direction. Then I have to set the value to be y. Okay, so the second div, that is green div, will move only in the vertical direction. So refresh, let me try to move this. See, I am not able to move it in horizontal or in any other direction, but it is movable only in the y direction, that is a vertical direction. So this is moving only in the x direction and this is moving only in the y direction because we have set its axis value to be x and y respectively. So this is x and this is y, and the name of the option is axis. Okay, now we can also set the boundary for movement. That is, suppose we want to move this box only within this parent element. These are even moving outside the box, right? If we set the option containment, then the item will be moved within the specific boundary. So let me copy this and make it sub 3 and set the value of containment. What should be the value? I want to move the blue box only within this main div. So its containment value should be hash main. So hash main means it will be movable only within the main parent element. So let me refresh. See, it is movable in the x direction. This is movable in the y direction. And this is movable only within this parent. See, it is movable only within this parent. When we are trying to move it out of the box, nothing happens. It stops when it reaches the boundary. Here there is a gap between, we have set a margin and padding values. That is why here it does not touch the boundary. Suppose we remove this margin and padding and save it and refresh. This will move only in the x direction. This will move only in the y, and this will stop when it touches the boundary. So this way we can restrict the movement using the options axis as well as containment. Axis is used to set the direction of movement and containment is used to set the boundary of movement.